Good morning from where you're tuned in. Yeah, so I won't keep you guys. I know it's morning, it's a Friday morning for at least the folks in Nairobi. Yeah, before you go to work, if you're tuning in to this, welcome. Some out there can't see anyone on the live stream. I hope I'm not that boring, right? I hope it's just the time. Please let me just the timing. But if you're listening to this after the recording, be my guest. So thank you so much. Yeah, so last time I reached slide 54, I think 56. I'll just go right there. And so if you're just joining me right now, let me actually recap this. So if you're just joining me for the first time, there are two other sessions I've run. You can check on the page. Two other live stream sessions I've run that we were looking at part 1, questioning software engineering, and then part 2, software craftsmanship. So I was in the middle of handling part 3, implications of software craftsmanship, before the end of the last stream. So today I'm going to cover the remaining bits of implication of software craftsmanship and part 4, repositioning software engineering, because I just wanted us to take it slow as opposed to maybe rushing through things. So part 4, and then lastly we'll go and close with what to do on Monday morning. So maybe actually I should do this one over the weekend so that it makes sense for Monday morning, or I should do it on a Monday morning. So let's see how that goes. But Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you're going to have a good time. If you're online, please, just a request for you. If you've never been to our YouTube page, please just get in there and like, subscribe, and share. That one helps us to go way and beyond our networks and have a good reach. So please just do that for us. We are now at around 5 or 7 subscriptions on YouTube. We were looking to get to 512. So we just have 5 people to go to get to 512. That's a very special number for us. And then we go over to 1024. That's our target. From there, I said, you can leave it up to me. I won't even ask for any subscription after 1024. I figured out how to blow it up. So that's outside the way. We can get into the book. Okay, so slide 56. Let me just get there. No, I think we're on slide 54. We're talking about quality. So as usual, what I've been doing with this book, I have just been taking highlights from the book, what I feel like are my highlights. So it's from my lenses. You'll have different highlights. That's why it's good to go and read the book on your own. But for me, I'll just give you my highlights and how I think about the ideas in the book. So it's all will be on you to go in and read the book. But from this, I hope that you can get some ideas. I hope you can get to know whether you should read the book, whether the book is worth your time. That's my goal with these sessions. So the author was saying in chapter 8, now customers have a different relationship with craftsmen. The author was saying software quality is another area that software craftsmen will push back on because of the concept of good enough software. Remember in chapter 2, we talked about good enough software. So this is an antithesis against that good enough software movement. The problem is that the good enough software stems from the infection model of software errors. The idea that somehow bugs infect the software, that somehow it's bugs, it's almost like how you catch a bug. So somehow bugs infect the software, and the cost of removing the bugs increases as we eradicate the bugs. The idea is that it is possible to create feature-rich applications that are so valuable that the customer will forgive the mistakes that were made in creating it. Utter garbage. Bugs do not infect software in a way that colds infect people. Errors are made by developers as they design and develop the software. So he's just saying that no, hold up. So there's no way that bugs just creep up. It is someone who made those bugs. It is like some sloppiness that happened in the way we wrote the code. So it is like calling for excellence on the side of us as software developers. Now we call it software craftsmanship. So the software craftsmanship view of good enough to ship states that all the faults we detected have been rectified, and although errors might remain in the system, try as we might, we cannot find any. So maybe one thing I can just say about this, about good enough software versus MVP versus like moving fast and breaking things, all those philosophies that have been around, I'm actually on the side of moving fast and breaking things. Like, get this thing out. Don't fear getting stuff out. But that doesn't mean that you should be sloppy on quality. It just means about scoping, do the right stuff at the right time and then ship it. Don't try and add more features to make like stuff that are not needed, like what the Eric Ries calls the MVP, minimal viable product. So you can still have an MVP that is high quality. Doesn't have to be scrappy, right? But that said, it is hard to implement this stuff in practice sometimes. But this is a call for excellence from this book. Still continuing chapter 8, shipping with non-bugs is crazy. Creating high-quality, reliable software means that Software Craftsman will fix all non-bugs before shipping the product. Software Craftsmanship states that we can afford to develop software with a reasonably low probability of hidden defects, that if a defect is found, it can be fixed. Okay? The good enough software economic argument that we know about lots of mistakes, but it is less expensive and faster for us not to bother fixing them. So it's just like paying attention to our craftsmanship. We should never get to the situation where we have to invoke the good enough software economic argument. Yeah, that we know about lots of mistakes, but it is less expensive and faster for us to bother fixing them. So making that economic argument, like it will cost us. Like basically, craftsmen care about their pride, their excellence. Like it's a purpose that you're looking. Like your life is not about just getting the money. Not like when I send this fix, it's costing me $25, but I'll get back nothing from my users. But you're sending because you care about your users, you care about your craft, you care about quality and just your purpose as a software engineer or as a software craftsman. Not surprisingly, software craftsmen will look carefully at the reputation of the customer before agreeing to a project. This is another section that I talk about. Like software craftsmen will not just pick any job. They look at the customer, like because the customer also matters in terms of how the products will end, like what the end goal will be. So they will be crazy not to. After all, their reputation is built on a series of successful projects. So you have to look at it, like, am I getting in a situation where I'll not be successful? So the customer also is all about good enough software and you about quality. So if the customer is the one saying, oh no, let's push this thing out, and you are feeling, no, I have a reputation to protect. Now you have a tension. You have a conflict that you have to resolve. So sometimes you just want to avoid those conflicts. You want to look for the right customers who care about the same things that you care about. So there's a section in chapter 8 that says, start exploiting the difference in productivity between developers. When one startup with a team of 25 developers heard that two large established companies were starting a joint venture to enter the same space, they were worried. They heard that the joint venture was using a team of 600 developers. They were safe. With a team of 600, they will waste a month just deciding how to format the requirement document. I just talk about like huge teams, problems to ship and to move in a nimble way. So still on chapter 8, he's talking about hire small teams of good developers. So this is like for folks now, this is for CTOs or hiring managers or people who organize teams. Think about your teams as like small teams of good developers, as opposed to just having a drone of so many people. So rather than hiring a horde of 30 or more average developer programmers, customers should hire 2 or 3 master craftsmen. Pay these craftsmen as much as they would have paid the horde of average programmers. Okay? Yes, you read that right. Great developers deserve to be paid as much as all of the people whom they replace. So that is a challenge to the folks hiring. Software craftsmen insist on good quality assurance reviews and customer acceptance testing of applications. While these reviews and tests will rarely, if ever, catch anything, they function just like the seat belt in a car. You wear it every time without expecting an accident. So it's just saying like, the test should not be like, I know we have bugs in our code, but it should be like, most probably we'll never get anything with those tests, any bugs. You can even delete the tests and still everything is good. But they're there as the seat belts in a car. Over time, the released product evolves to the full-featured application. But the software craftsmanship standpoint is that it is better to have a functional, rock-solid, minimal feature release that than an unstable buggy release with features that don't quite work properly. So this was remember when I gave that MVP philosophy about the MVP versus quality. Yeah. Software craftsmanship takes this stand because it is easier and less risky to add functionality to a solid foundation than it is to debug your way to stability after release. Like, let's release, then we'll just debug our way to stability. This is a very common thing, I've seen it. This does not mean, however, that your highly paid developers will be sitting around taking forever to produce their masterpiece. Software craftsmen understand that their reputation relies on their ability to deliver value to their customers and useful functionality to their users. So you're talking about like why you should pay craftsmen the best that you can, and they will not waste their time, because remember they have a reputation to protect. So they'll deliver on time, they'll deliver as said and everything. So you can trust the delivery unless they lied. So chapter 9, managing craftsmen. So this is for the managers. How do you manage craftsmen? Managing software craftsmen is completely different from managing software engineers. The Taylor is a model. So there was a guy called Taylor who was a management science person, came up with some theories on how to manage people, knowledge workers, or just workers in general. So the neo-Taylorism model that is used as the default management style in the Western world assumes that the knowledge of the one best way to do a task lies with the manager. So they put most of the onus on the manager in the Taylorism approach. The hired hands are just there to do what their manager tells them to do. But software craftsmen are not hired hands. The knowledge of how to do software development lies in the heads of the craftsmen. Developers are paid to think while they work. Software craftsmanship is an acknowledgement of the craft and the skills of the developers. Managing software is different. People master a craft because they care about the craft to make the effort. So that's why people will want to master that particular craft. Craftsmen do not need detailed instruction about what to do, when to do it, okay, micromanagement. Instead, they need managers to coordinate their work with the work of the rest of the organization, schedule necessary resources, so coordination, scheduling, and identify applications that need to be enhanced or modified. Craftsmen do not need command and control managers, but rather managers that are skilled in facilitating the relationships between developers, users, and customers. So, as a manager of craftsmen, you have an easy time, and I think actually it's going to be in the next section. It's just about facilitation, removing roadblocks, supporting, almost leading from behind, basically. This notion may come to a shock to some managers, but a really good developer is more valuable to an organization than the person who manages him. So here he was talking about paying the developers more than the managers. So I just took that snippet from there. But I had a rebuttal though that managers can still be on a higher paid grade, but it's important that they gain the confidence and the respect of the software developers. Like, let's say we have good engineers who actually they feel like they've done it all. They want to go into management. They'll still be given a chance to go into management. So let the guys who want to remain on IC, like myself, I've made up like peace with that. Like I want to pursue IC for the longest possible, as opposed to going to management. So, and on that, that's a different topic. I've talked about it a little bit in another blog post I wrote about software longevity. You can go check it out. Maybe I put that in the description. But my rebuttal just that it's not one size fits all. The other thing is to make sure not to incentivize management as the only way up. It should be possible for the software developers to earn more than managers or be on a higher pay grade than the managers. Mechanics are difficult to, but possible. Yeah, it's a bit difficult. Like guys who know management, it's really difficult to have this person. You're managing this person, but they're earning more than you. It's easy on paper, but hard to implement. Like there could be some elephants in the room. Like someone can say, "Oh, there's nothing you can tell me," or something like that. The biggest change that software craftsmanship brings for management is the insistence that managers treat developers as knowledge workers. Essential skills for managers are facilitation and coaching. The days of hands-on managers who try to control everything are numbered. So, unfortunately, Taylor's idea about workers persists in the software industry, namely that unless workers are closely supervised, they will slack off and be less productive. So, you just talk about against micromanagement. That if you have good developers, you have people who are craftsmen, you don't need to micromanage them. And actually, it becomes a nuisance when they're micromanaged. They feel a bit agitated when you're micromanaging them, because you should just trust that they will do their work. And if they want, because it's all about like they have a reputation to protect. It's not about the time and all that. Like they know what they're doing, so it's like building that trust. But also, again, it's up to the software engineers to build the trust with the managers. Like, now we're on the same page. Don't say like, "Man, I know what I'm doing. Just leave me to do the stuff." No, show the manager that you know what you're doing. So it's both ways. It should cut both ways. Managing great developers is a pleasure and a privilege. All good developers, all good software development managers know this already. They know that managing software development projects is not like managing mechanical projects. They can see the similarities that exist and use techniques from the traditional project management when they apply, but they also appreciate the differences. For a start, they know that although projects are significant, what really matters is the long term health of the teams and applications that they manage. Good managers also realize that they are managing individuals and that management is about forming a special kind of relationship between people. As such, management is not a one size fits all approach. Rather, managers have to adjust their style to match the styles of the people whom they are working. Good managers engage in constant conversation with the people whom they manage, and they actually manage people by interacting with them. Command and control is out. Conversation is what works. Yeah, so it's about conversations. So this is for the managers. So if you're a manager, hope this is talking to you, and you can just jump to that section and actually read more about it. So mastering any craft is a goal in itself. In traditional crafts, even those acquiring physical skills and manual dexterity, such as a blacksmith, master craftsmen were often productive and participated in their craft well beyond the age of 60. Oh, yeah, this is about the software longevity. Like craftsmanship is trying to borrow some ideas from the old craftsmen, the guys, the folks who are doing crafts, whether it is ladies or men. So just buying ideas from there. Like you say, we saw many craftsmen doing things way when they're old. Like why is it hard to find developers with 30 or more years of experience these days? Sure, some exceptions exist, but most developers seem to move up into management or out into different fields. So this I like the piece that so I'll share that piece on the chat here if someone has never seen it. Just get that one. Luckily, just about software, I want just to pause on software longevity because it's an area that I'm really, really passionate about. So this is a guy called Michi Henning. And actually, I actually ended up chatting with him on LinkedIn. Actually, he got back to me with very kind words, and he said, like, hey, he's happy to see that people are still getting his article. This article, he wrote it on SCM, one of the SCM queues. The SCM has something called Q, SCM queue as indication. So just check on my blog. I wrote I just did an excerpt about software longevity. And I said I'll give my ideas later on. I haven't given my full length, but I wanted to bring you on actually on board some folks. We do a roundtable discussion around software longevity, software engineering longevity, especially like-minded folks who see things the way I see. It's better for the craft when we have all people still staying back to help the young ones and to help them not make mistakes that were made in the previous eras. So, but if people keep going to management and also getting pushed out into many other things, maybe they go into business or they retire early, we start losing that institutional memory. So this exercise is a real problem. We keep repeating the mistakes of the past because we lack developers who remember the mistakes made the first time around. Yeah, so you can check out that longevity blog I wrote. It's just an excerpt that I picked from another author. So Michi Henning. You can check him out. But there's something interesting. Michi Henning is still coding even up to now. It's been how many years? He's been doing this maybe 40, 50 years. Yeah. I share it. Or maybe actually, let me do that. Share his LinkedIn page. You can go check him out. He's a senior software engineer. I think even that term is just, he should be like a partner or principal software engineer, but I think he just plays it down because himself a senior software engineer. He's working with a company called CrowdStrike. So I'll put it on the chat there. So that's Michi Henning. Yeah, Stano. Yeah, that's Michi Henning. I put the and welcome Stano, by the way. Good to see you. So I put his LinkedIn page on the chat. Yeah. So you can just go check out and this is the one who wrote that post that I just copied and put on my blog post. Yeah. So let me know if you're also on the chat, and also maybe if you're watching this afterwards, if you feel this we should have more folks staying on the craft for longer than maybe going to management. So this is a funny bit in management, because I've been there actually. Let me actually put a little bit on this, because what happened was I went into management myself. I went into management for how many years combined between Andela and where I currently work. I 2+ maybe about 5 years into management. Yes, let me say 5 years doing management. But my Andela management was good because I was still hands-on. I will still afford to be hands-on. Then my later company management was a bit more managerial, and I felt like I was losing my edge. I was losing my craft somehow, and that's not the way I wanted it to go. So I had to actually make a turn back and go back to IC. Although through many other tragedies and stuff, but I ended up the right place. Back to my first love. And there's a song called "I'm Going Back to My First Love." I link it is nice. So back to my first love, getting back my hands dirty and doing stuff. So I'm loving it so far. Been 3 years doing this. And I'm loving it so much. My IC track, and I want to just stay on this part. So that's my idea, and it's a win-win. So it doesn't have to be like everyone has to stay here. We still have to have managers. At the end of the day, we have to be managed. So we should have managers, but folks who wants to stay, they should actually stay, and the companies should be incentivizing people to stay. But most companies don't do that. They only incentivize people upwards through management. Most companies, or if they have some positions that are a bit vague, they'll say you're an architect. It's a bit vague. It's not clear how you should how should run the stuff and all. Maybe an architect is always bumping heads with the CTO or the team leads, and so people don't have very clear structures on how people should go upwards without being managers. So it's just something that you need to, like, you cannot just happen. It's not about just paying people more or pay grades. It's all about creating very good structures to go up. And there's another book actually I'm reading right now. Just finished this and I'm reading another called the Staff Engineer. This is the Staff Engineer part. Let me just check. Maybe I'll link it on the Staff Engineer's path here. I'll link it on the chat here. So that's the book I'm actually reading. And I've already seen some ideas. It's talking about those ideas there, the Staff Engineer's path. So you can check out that link, Staff Engineer's path. Yeah. Anyway, let's go on. So machines are faster, memory is plentiful, and programming languages have changed, but the basics of the craft of software development remains the same. Make sure you understand the real problem, look long and hard for a simple solution, and when you find a solution, test it on a small scale first and then deploy. Software development is not rocket science. It relies on experience built up over years in the school of hard knocks. So this just still insisting on that, like having folks remaining back, like for institutional memory and for people not to make the same mistakes. Although software development is stereotyped as something that only young people can do, this stereotype is wrong. All timers are valuable in any field. Their depth and breadth of experience make a massive difference in the quality of their work. Managers do not have to deal with the maintenance problem, because once a craftsman creates something, it is that person's creation to look after and enhance until the developer passes it on to the worthy successor. This process works because the creator's reputation is tied up in what they create. So you feel that, like, I think I mixed up the slides, the managing craftsman. Oh, no, I didn't mix up. Sorry. It's all good. All good. I didn't mix up. I thought I mixed up the chapter 9. But is it just about, like, when you're managing craftsmen, just know that they care about their stuff. And even, they will even care about, even if I'm living in the company, I want to care about this product that I built. Like, who is going to take over after me? Like, I want to make sure that they don't mess it up, because this is my legacy. They don't mess it up. So it's like you still on board, the guys picking up your product, and then you still have like some attachment. And I'm sure many folks can attest to this, depending on the things that you love. I've seen even someone who sold to me a car and they were still following up, finding out, hey, did you take it to the garage? Did you make this? Did you fix this? That? Like, they already sold to me, but they really still care about it. And that's the thing, like you sort of like fall in love with the product that you've built. Craftsmanship is not about planned obsolescence, but rather encourages and values long-lived, stable applications. It is no coincidence that the GNU tools, such as like the open source, the GNU tools, and other freeware applications are longer lived than the average commercial tools. Like, by the way, why is it that way by the way? That all these commercial tools, they come and go so fast. Like, but if you've been around this field, commercial tools, they always come and go. Whether it is wherever, antiviruses, Avast, what, AVG, or I've seen them all, they come and go. But how come the open source tools, those oldies, that the commands, like whether it is grep or awk or whatever, they're still around and they're still like running the show. It's just because of the folks who are building them. They were building them with a different mindset. And even most likely they didn't even know that it will be longer than their lives, but they just build them with a care. But once you put care in it, it outlasts you. Developers have traditionally been resistant to software engineering ideas. So why should they adopt software craftsmanship? So this is like becoming a software craftsman. Like already people have been saying software engineering is, you remember we went over software engineering issues, and already there was pushback on that. Like, so you're giving me another, like, is this just another software engineering coming in a shaped cloth? So why should they adopt software craftsmanship? Simple. Good developers have always always seen what they do as a craft and have been searching for a way to talk about what they really do. Like they've been looking at this thing as a craft. Somehow, whether they were not calling it a craft or not, already they were already seeing that. So this is just maybe another thing to say. This is, if you've been a good developer, and I had to use this term, like I don't want to create like division. Like we have good and bad developers in my community. My community, I believe all are good developers. So already all these things that I'm talking to you is like preaching to the choir. All these things already you've been practicing somehow, even without reading this book. Like you've already been caring about the craft, you've been doing these things. This is just now formalizing the language. This is how you should talk about what you do. That whatever I do is I look at it as a craft. So this is just like, this is how you should communicate now moving forward. Software craftsmanship rejects the narrow role specialization that software engineering forced on developers. Instead, celebrates true craftsmen who can take a complete job from start to finish. So, generalist, end to end, full stack. That's how the author is looking at this as craftsmanship. Having the same people involved from the initial discussions through maintaining and releasing the application reduces the possibility of misinterpretation, as an application is taken from a rough initial idea into a live running system. Yeah. So you can see that, it's, if sometimes it's hard to implement for big size projects. Sometimes you have to break people into specialization, but he's saying that idea is still, you should know that there's a price to pay for that. There's overhead you're going to pay for that, and there's this thing of pushing the blame. You've seen those. I'm sure the projects where someone on the front end says, "No, it's the back end guys." You see, and someone will just care about his section or their section or her section. But craftsmanship is all about looking at the whole bigger picture. And you're saying, no, we have to deliver this experience to the user. The user they don't care about back end or front end. They want that experience, and that's what we want to deliver for the user. The process of becoming a software craftsman is not easy because the road to mastery of anything requires dedication and time. That's obvious. Software craftsmanship is a mindset and an attitude rather than a body of knowledge. Yeah. What a person knows is less important than what he can create to meet the needs of his users, especially in the face of rapidly changing technology. Master craftsmen are always willing to learn and are able to admit their own mistakes. Both of these traits are essential for software craft development because things change so fast and it is easy to make a mistake. Yeah, I think that's self-explanatory. Schooling is insufficient and ineffective for passing on craft traditions because it ignores the ideas of situated learning and legitimate peripheral participation. So, student learning, I think we talked about it sometime. Like student learning is like apprenticeship applies that situated learning approach, where you don't like learn and then go do stuff. It is you're learning on the job while doing. So the thing that the typical schooling system is you go to school, you learn 4 years, and then go to work. You find in work things have already changed. Things that you learned in school are no longer in the work. So you just have to start pulling, like sort of trying to connect the dots yourself, really forcing yourself to connect the dots. But learning while doing, you're already in it. You learn about this algorithm, you're implementing it in the evening. That's how social learning should be. So learning becomes a lifelong useful activity, unlike schooling that has to be gotten through so that you can graduate, having learned all you need to know. Okay. Yeah, I feel like maybe let me talk about schooling a little bit. So this is not like against going to get a degree, but just saying that when you go to school, have this awareness that most of the things they learn in school, you're not going to apply them in practice. But that doesn't mean that it is useless. But I feel like sometimes schooling just gives you that framework to be for you to just forces you to have that mindset of a learner. But it's no longer these days the same way anymore. I felt like when I was myself going into university, I went there with so much high expectation. I was coming from the village. I had never been to any university or even stepped in the university, maybe to a graduation ceremony of one of my, my relatives. But that's just like you go to graduation square. But I'd never even known how classrooms look like, the university lecture hall and all that. So I came with very high expectation, knowing that this is the place to learn and just be immersed and have fun. But it never ended up being that way. Everyone who was going through university in Kenya will attest to it. I don't need to go and qualify and explain to you how it is. But you don't have to keep giving those excuses like blaming your university. I think it's up to you as a student. If you're a student and listening to me, it's up to you to take your learning in your own hands, own it, and just love whatever you're learning and try and apply. So make it some situated learning. So if you're learning about operating systems this semester, try and go and look at the Linux kernel code. Look, if you talked about mutex, where is the mutex in Linux kernel? Semaphores, all those things that you're learning. Don't just say, okay, let me wait until 4 years and then I'll use this knowledge somewhere. So try and apply the things yourself, because the university is not going to do that for you. Yeah. Apprenticeship is much more effective than schooling. So it's just saying he's still going against the schooling approach, and I'm trying to encourage people to look at apprenticeship. Interestingly, although apprenticed to a master, apprentices rarely, if ever, are known are shown how to do anything by their master. Instead, the task of figuring out how to do things falls to the apprentice, who will ask the other apprentices for help. Yeah. So as an apprentice, again, it is you to put to this whether it's either you're a mentee or an apprentice, it's the same idea. Mentee is just mentorship is just another knockoff apprenticeship sort of. It's like lower than apprenticeship, but it can work. It can work, but also as a mentee, a person being mentored, one who should be pushing, asking the mentor questions and coming. So if you go to a session, you should be like always running out of time because you have so many things you want to ask the mentor or the person that you are apprenticing under. Journeymen are craftsmen who have finished their apprenticeships but have not yet mastered their craft. So like this is like journeyman. So myself also, as I said earlier on, I consider myself a journeyman. I'm not a master or yet. Like I feel like journeyman, especially when in technology, I think you still have to stay as a journeyman. Though of course, there's some aspects like I have people apprenticing under me or something like that where I'm sort of a quote unquote master, but I feel like I'm still on a journey, and that's the truth. Journeymen become master craftsmen by producing masterpieces on which can base their reputations. Master craftsmen know that producing a masterpiece is just the first step in their continual journey to master. So it's still a journey. Even as I said, even master is still a journey. It's not like you've arrived. From an industrialized schooling viewpoint, apprenticeship seems to be slow way of getting workers up to speed with the task. So yeah, so if you look at it in economics way, apprenticeship is slow. Like why should you have this person? Like yeah, it's slow. But doesn't mean that if it's slow, like fast things are best. I think life has shown you already that fast is not the best. Apprenticeship takes time because it focuses more on inculcating attitudes and mindset than on learning specific techniques and technologies. It was about learning at a very deep level about what reputation means through observation of how the master goes about the craft over many years. The challenge is finding good experienced developers lies in finding people who have already adopted the craft tradition of continual learning. So you can see that craftsmanship is all also about continual learning, like lifelong learning. There are already same ideas, like they're all related. They actually didn't know that they're actually related. And but as I said, like if you've already been embracing lifelong learning, you've already been doing this thing. All these ideas are resonating with this, just like preaching to the choir. We are looking for developers who, although already good, are continually striving to improve their mastery of software development. By valuing the developer who have been around for a long time, so going back again to longevity, by valuing the developers who have been around for a long time and who really understand their current system, we give them a real incentive to master their craft. Like if we always value experience and longevity and the wealth of knowledge and what you can bring to the table in terms of mentoring and all that, if you're already valuing it, and the only way you value is putting the money where your mouth is. Like you're paying them well, you're incentivizing them to stay. So, and again, the same way you are again incentivizing to master their craft even the more, because they can see it's being it's paying off. But if what pays off is politicking, people politicking their way up to become managers, and then that's who they're getting more rewards. Then again, that's the culture you're building. Now people know that okay, that's the blueprint. If I want to earn more, let me do some politics and get into management. Still on mastering the craft. Mastery implies taking responsibility for passing on the craft. Like it's on your responsibility to pass this on to the next generation. A key task of all master software craftsmen is taking apprentices and journeymen under their wing and providing an environment in which they can practice their craft. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Already I'm seeing people like Stan already there, like you already been doing this kind of stuff. Yeah. Learning a craft entails lots of supervised and observed hands-on work with the observation going both ways. The apprentice needs to see how the craftsman does a task just as much as a craftsman needs to oversee the work of the apprentice. So a 13-week course in okay, this one now he was going to apprenticeship. And there's a section now that he was talking about how things have changed. Like in the 1970s and early 80s, training new developers was substantial and focused. A 13-week course in COBOL was not uncommon, with many induction programs running as long as 20 to 26 weeks. So there was those kind of boot camps of sorts in 70s and 80s. But then come later on and people now everything's commercial. People have gone pop. In the late 80s and the early 90s, training courses were shortened drastically. Today, some courses pretend to teach Java programming in 1 week. Remember, guys, do you remember a book called Learn Java in 21 Days or 24 hours? I don't know. There's those books. If you remember that book, just put them on chat. If you remember those kind of books, like they will promise like heaven. Like they can take you through this thing like very quick. Companies have stopped hiring trainees and now hire experienced developers, quote unquote, even if experience means that the developer has used Java for 6 months. So the firm that the companies are frowning upon getting guys, trainees, and already this one another trick. But if you're getting people already as trainees, they're already coming with that mindset that they're coming to learn, which is the right mindset, growth mindset. You're hiring someone as an experienced quote unquote developer. They're coming there like, you hired me because I know this stuff, so let me do this stuff. And they have this mindset that is there's growth mindset and there is the opposite of growth mindset is what? There's a name for it in that mindset book. If you know it, just put it on chat. There's a book called Mindset that talks about the opposite of growth mindset. So already, if you have folks already coming in with growth mindset, you already know that you have the right people. I've seen companies that have actually, I keep giving that example of Mandela. Mandela was getting folks already as trainees. Everyone was coming there as a learner. Like even myself, I was a trainer at Mandela, but I was learning because the things I was training on, I think I never learned anywhere. I was coming, I learned Angular and teach Angular. I learned Django, Django REST framework in the evening, I'm teaching it in the morning. So everyone was learning. So and that created a very different culture of people who are just always there to grow their craft. And you can see them. I think another day we should just talk about what Andela has done to the ecosystem. I think we never talk about it enough. We never take enough credit, but I think we make sure that we make some noise about what it has done to the ecosystem. It's the one that has brought on all these guys, Google, Microsoft, uh, um, AWS to Nairobi. It is thanks to Andela, like whether you like it or not. And that is because of the growth mindset and that idea of just lifelong learning, because it was a thing that we already, it was part of our core tenets then. University degrees prepare students for academic life, not really projects. For university courses, for university courses prepare developers for working on real projects. So the few university courses prepare developers for working in real projects. The problem is that the schooling model employed by universities does not allow for you enough coaching and mentoring. That's true. Rather than supporting collaborative development and reuse, these institutions typically view collaboration as cheating. So you've known like no group work, no collaboration. Overall, university courses provide a great theoretical background, but new graduates still have to learn the craft of software development. Yeah, but this is a very interesting thing. Like I'm just actually reflecting, like when we are doing apprenticeship at Andela, or yeah, like we didn't look at things like copying from someone is cheap. Like, basically, do you understand what if someone helped you? Yeah, it was okay for people to look for help, and actually, even we were actually we were working for the boot camp before you make it in. Actually, we were looking at those aspects. Are you looking for help or you are just a loner? Okay, loners normally, whether however good you are and you're just a loner, sometimes you'll have a no you'll not be picked. But someone who is not really that good then, but they're seeking help, they know how to seek help. That's the right skill to have than someone who thinks they know. Because most times when you feel like you know everything, it's just about you, just in your head. It's until you meet other people, then you know that you don't know. That's the very truth. Learning a programming language is not hard, but it is incredibly difficult to learn. This one I loved it. Let me just read it again. Learning a programming language is not hard, but it is incredibly difficult to learn a programming language taught by a teacher in class. Like teachers actually spoil it. Like by me, like teachers like myself, like we'll teach in our own sort of our own. We want to take you where with what we want to take you, but learning on your own, you go where you want to go. You know what I say, what I mean. So is as Ted Nelson, an early computer visionary, said in 1974, the best way to start programming is to have a terminal running, an interactive language, and a friend sitting nearby who already knows the language and has something else to do but can be interrupted with questions. And you just try stuff till more and more you get the feel of it, and you find yourself writing programs at work. So in today's life, by the way, you only need yourself and ChatGPT. That's your friend now. That's the friend you need to be asking. Like, I'm you're trying out this thing. Why did this not work this way? ChatGPT gives you a very long commentary. You can even ask more questions. So by the in this generation, there's no excuse. There's no excuse of not being excellent. And the problem with attending a programming class is that teachers teach programming languages out of context. This approach is deadly because most such classes are set up to prevent people from asking questions. Students learn at a very early stage that asking a question is pointless, and because the teacher does not have the time to answer it. During a lesson on writing loops, for example, if a student asks a deep question about conditional logic, a typical answer might be, we will cover that in the next lesson, or we have already covered that. But this is a very typical thing. I'm sure you've heard about those kind of answers. At a deeper level, the lack of context in programming classes hinders the development of wisdom. The lesson on writing loops fails to enlighten students about the circumstances under which it is appropriate to use a loop. So you're just talking about like giving that allowing students to ask questions and you just making it interactive and student learning, as you said, and as you had, and learning on your own, trying to explore things on your own is the best way. You are developing wisdom that way, as opposed to just going through a linear approach of a classroom. Apprentices learn by reviewing the work of the master. The review process goes both ways. By constantly being exposed to good work, apprentices pick up hard to explain nuances and get a feel for the craft of software development. A final benefit of the apprentice reviewing everything is that it forces the journeyman and craftsman actually to practice what they preach. So it's like if you've been saying, okay, you should be doing this, and then you're not doing the thing that you're preaching. So it's like checks and balances, the accountability mechanism too, making sure that everyone has read everything that has been produced by the team, insulates the team against the loss of any individual. As knowledge about the application is distributed among the entire team, so single person is key, not even the master craftsman. So no single person is key. So this is just the one bus factor, preventing that. Like there's only one person who knows this part of the code. So it's a very common thing in many companies, but they're just saying that you should have that code review card apprenticeship culture where everyone knows what everyone else is doing. The length of, let me see, okay, let me complete this chapter, section 3 at last. The length of the apprenticeship could be shorter if the apprentice had a computing degree, but it will probably be more effective to become an apprentice before starting the degree. The apprentice will then receive academic teaching and will be working on real projects simultaneously, making the experience become a sort of up degree or steroid. Yeah. So this is just like yours come up. These models are interesting. Like you start with the apprenticeship, then get a degree. And I'm sure maybe some folks can agree. Like if maybe you are a self-taught programmer, if you want to just go back and bag that certificate, like computer science certificate, you'll do it in a very different way, and you might actually do it better than how you would have done it without this background knowledge that you already have now. So it's always good to go back and get the papers, go back to get your degrees, even if you're a self-taught programmer, to just formalize your knowledge. And also, as you said earlier, certificates just open doors for you. So some all doors might be closed for you just because you don't have a degree. So get that paper for opening the doors. But then when you get in the room, show them who you are. So the step from apprentice to journeyman is very significant and represents the coming of age of the developer. It is a public recognition that the developer is a skilled generalist, able to understand the application development process without assistance. Software craftsmen tend to specialize, watching on time, in just a few programming languages. So the journeymen need to work with different craftsmen to broaden the experience until they find the language in which they want to specialize. Let me close on this. This is a good place to close at. And then on the next session, we'll go to chapter section 4. It looks like I cannot do 2 sections at a time. So I'll do 1 section at a time. I hope you guys won't be bored. Don't be bored with this. I hope you. I'm also been doing shorts. I'll try and maybe get shorts for you folks. And at least that would make sense for you if you can't go through the whole me reading through this and giving my commentary. Okay. So I'll close on this. Hope is a high note. Working in a closely knit team where everyone views one another's work as on a daily basis means that even without trying, a journeyman will gain a real breadth of experience about software development. Yeah, that's very true. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this is continuing to be helpful. And thank you for joining. I saw a few folks joining live. I really like when it's live, and especially when you comment, give comments and all that. But either way, thanks for listening in. And just a call out, if you are out there and you like to come and present any of the software engineering classics, any of the books that are great for engineers to hear about, please, I'm open. And also the timing is open. You can choose any time that works with you. If it works with me, I can join on the call. If it's not even, you can actually come and run it on your own. I can give you access to the StreamYard. And also, I have my producer now at last. She's called Maryann Gitonga. Shout out to her. She's our producer. She's the one who sets up everything, the music and the outro and everything. So we just got her on the team this week, and she's really doing a great job on that. So if you want to come, then really have to be like my timing. You can work with your time. If you like to do it even way at night, if you're in another time zone, you're in the West Coast, this is a global platform. I'm okay. If you're in Asia, let me know. I'll give you the access to the StreamYard. You come and present the book review, and we'll get the recordings. Okay? So I'm opening this up. It's not my platform. It's our platform for us to enjoy and share our knowledge across. Okay? So have a nice one. God bless you. Have a good Friday, and see you next week as we continue with the journey. Okay? Thank you and bye.